Okay, calm down.
We're bringing on, usually based in Beirut, but right now on the East Coast, Rania Khalek, the great journalist and breakthrough news host. Welcome, Rania.
Katie, how are
Hi.
you? Good
Good,
to be
you?
on with you. I'm good.
Welcome. It's been too long. Oh, and we should announce that we're doing a live show. Rania, Abby, Martin, and I are going to be doing another live taping in September.
Yes, I'm
I believe
so excited.
September 19th, a Thursday. Yeah.
And also for those who missed the last one, it was back in January. You can watch that,
Yes.
right?
Yep. It's still online. Yeah. It was a
Yeah,
great time.
it was
Yeah.
awesome. So if you missed that one, you can go to this one.
Yeah. So you're
So
very lucky.
mark your calendars, friends.
Yeah, September 19th. Rania, we're going to talk about your SmackDown, by which I mean you smacked down. You were not SmackDown. Your SmackDown with Pierce Morgan. But first, let's talk about some important news that's happening. As people probably know, and if you don't know, no shame, but the ICC, the International Criminal Court, announced on Monday that it's seeking arrest warrants for alleged war crimes committed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, as well as 3 leaders of Hamas. And prosecutor Karim A.A. Khan said, quote, "We submit that the crimes against humanity charged were committed as a part of a widespread and systematic attack against the Palestinian civilian population pursuant to state policy. These crimes, in our assessment, continue to this day." So, Rania, let's take a look at how some people reacted to the news that the ICC was pursuing these arrest warrants. And we're going to start off with Joe Biden.
Let me be clear. We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders.
Who claps at that?
Whatever these warrants may imply, there's no equivalence between Israel and Hamas.
Yeah, because the state of Israel has killed many more people than Hamas has. I mean, that's one thing I'll agree with him on, that there's no equivalence.
No, there is no equivalence. Just not the way he's saying it.
Clear.
Right.
Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection. But
wait, so he just said it's clear that Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection, even though a State Department report just said that they don't do that. I mean, it said it in the most indirect, wishy-washy way. But
you have to be delusional. You have to be delusional to think that Israel is it's like if you have a boyfriend or a husband who's beating you.
Yeah.
And they're like, "I love you."
And you believe it, right?
I love you. And you're like, "Oh, he loves me." No, but
Yeah.
another party, a third party is like, "No, he loves her. He's doing everything he can to protect her."
But Biden would
be
the abusive boyfriend enabling the guy enabling the abusive boyfriend.
Yeah, Biden would be shooting him up with steroids, and he'd be like, "No,
Right.
big muscles so he can so he can protect her."
Right. Well, he actually smacks her around. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
let me be clear. Contrary to allegations against Israel made by the International Court of Justice, what's happening is not genocide. We reject that. We will always stand with Israel and the threats against its security.
Okay, so that's Biden. Let's take a look at another wise man, Lindsey Graham. He's going to be reacting to the ICC requesting arrest warrants. You're going to see he's not very happy about it, but he does applaud Anthony Blinken, Biden, and Chuck Schumer. So let's take a look at what Senator Lindsey Graham has to say.
So we, hopefully, together will find a way to rest our displeasure with the ICC, because if they'll do this to Israel, we're next. This group tried to come after our soldiers. Yeah, you can clap all you want to. They tried to come after our soldiers in Afghanistan, but reason prevailed. So at the end of the day here, what I hope to happen is that we level sanctions against the ICC for this outrage to not only help our friends in Israel, but protect ourselves over time. Mr. Secretary, you're...
So that's, again, it's kind of one of those moments where you're like, yeah, that would be great if they did.
Yeah. No, I hope they go after you next. I mean, look, I think Lindsey Graham has a point when he says that. If you're a mass murderer and you're like, "Oh, crap, my best friend mass murderer is maybe going to have to face some consequences," you should be concerned too, because then it might come on you. But also, I think there's something really interesting as well about the fact that I mean, aside from Lindsey Graham being like a cartoon character, who likes to make love to bombs,
Yeah, and talk
he
about Taiwan.
yeah, well, it was reported. It was reported that Joe Biden has said he will support Republican attempts to do exactly what Lindsey Graham just said, which is to sanction the ICC and the officials that are involved in this prosecution. And so it's like our entire government on like a bipartisan level has been totally taken over by neocons.
Yeah,
Like I mean, what's the difference? Honestly, like, yeah, Lindsey Graham's a bit crazier. He goes on TV and says, I mean,
he's a
he'll
bit
go on
more
TV and say
belligerent.
we should nuke Gaza, and I
Yeah,
think he means that. But like, if they're all just gonna do the same thing anyway, it's like Lindsey Graham's basically in charge.
right.
It's scary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The president's statement was excellent. Senator Schumer's statement on the floor was excellent about the outrage here. They have destroyed the notion of complementarity. They have misled people in the United States Senate about their intention, and they shall and will pay a price. Ms. Secretary, I appreciate what you've said. It is now time for us to act.
I love Democrats. They're doing exactly what I want. Also, Lindsey Graham is like a sociopath and really
Yeah.
should be taken out of the general population.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
agree.
genuinely think like,
I'm not a carceral person, but I think in his case, you probably have
I
to lock him up.
mean, there's some people who are
Yeah,
just
I
so
believe that's
dangerous.
true. Yeah,
Or like
beyond
people with power and like put him on
rehabilitation.
a farm somewhere. I don't
Yeah,
know. Like
yeah. I could imagine him like in overalls with a
I-
straw hat and like
living
a
his best life.
pitchfork. Yeah. Well, we have one more person we want to hear from, and that is none other than not that you can tell the difference, honestly, between Lindsey Graham, Biden, and the next person, but that is Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, God
Creating a
damn it.
false symmetry between the democratically elected leaders of Israel and the terrorist chieftains. That's like saying after 9/11, well, I'm issuing arrest warrants for George Bush, but also for bin Laden. Or after.
Yeah, why
I
not?
mean, I think that we should issue arrest
Yeah.
warrants for George Bush. Also, with 9/11, I don't know if you guys saw that recent Atlantic piece
Oh yeah.
about that Saudi involvement, but that's a story for another day. All that's to say, he's also just trying to like subliminally, not so subliminally, compare Hamas to Al Qaeda, which.
Right.
Not to suggest what the U.S. did in response to 9/11 is okay. It's not. It's horrific, and they like went on a murder spree around the world.
And
But
didn't make the world safer, didn't make
no,
America safer. Yeah.
no.
Right.
But they definitely like a lot of people got richer
Yes,
and a
that's
lot of
true.
people
Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
But no, like Hamas and Al Qaeda are not the same thing. Palestinians are not the same thing. And he always every chance Netanyahu gets, and he does it quite effectively, I think. Every opportunity he gets, he tries to make this equation between Palestinians fighting for their survival and Al Qaeda, which was like a outcome of CIA sponsoring jihadists in Afghanistan.
Right. Yeah.
Not the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And they even say out loud all the time that Hamas is ISIS.
Yeah, that's like
I
their
mean,
big talking. I mean, right after October 7th, though, that didn't stick as well, so they haven't said it as much. But
right.
look, I think that Netanyahu, George Bush, basically like every American president that's still alive, and the entire Israeli government like need to be put on trial and then jailed to protect to protect humanity, honestly.
Well, isn't it funny when people say stuff like, well, if that was genocide, or if you're saying that Israel shouldn't have responded to October 7th, well, should the United States not have responded the way they did to September 11th? And you're like, yeah,
Yeah, they
of course
have
not.
responded. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
they shouldn't have invaded and bombed and destroyed Afghanistan,
Right.
invaded and bombed and destroyed Iraq and like Libya and basically the entire Middle East. Like, yeah, I don't think the U.S. should have started a torture facility in Guantanamo
Not
Bay,
safe.
a bunch of torture black sites. I totally don't think the U.S. should have responded that way.
Right.
It's just such a stupid talking point. But it's said by people who believe in that stuff. So like it
Right.
makes sense. But I think
Right.
the more interesting thing about the whole ICC case is I really recommend people go read Ali Abunima's take on it. He's like the guiding light when it comes to a lot of this stuff. He points out, well, he wrote two pieces. One is
An
one is
electronic
about
intifada.
yeah, for the electronic intifada, but his piece is ICC warrants both historic and cynical. And I think it's important to understand that, to recognize that like it is historic that there might be arrest warrants for Israeli officials and like what that means, and that's important. But also it's insane that it's like Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, and then four leaders in Hamas. They want to issue an arrest warrant for four people in charge of an organization that we still don't know how many people they killed on October 7th, by the way, because we're not sure how many people the Israelis actually killed. by bombing their own people to prevent them from becoming
Yeah,
hostages.
mass
And having
Hannibal,
Hamas
as
killed.
the
Yeah,
Israeli media put it.
and all of like the ridiculous blood libels they've launched against Palestinians, like especially like Joe Biden, where what did he say at Morehouse College?
Oh
He
my
was
God,
like,
about the woman burned.
yeah, they
Mysteriously,
tied up a
yeah.
mother and forced her to watch her children be burned alive. And Joe Biden apparently saw photos of this
Yeah.
because there was somebody there to photograph
Right.
the timeline of that.
What's happening in Gaza and Israel is heartbreaking. Hamas's vicious attack on Israel, killing innocent lives and holding people hostage. I was there 9 days after. Sent pictures of tying a mother and a daughter in a rope, pouring kerosene on them, burning them, and watching as they died.
Okay, there's no proof that that happened. But anyway, I mean, it's just, to me, like, it's so ridiculous. Like even if I'm generous and I say Hamas killed 1,200 people, which I don't believe they did, and we're going to pretend that they were all civilians, which they all weren't civilians, but I'll be generous and give you that. How does that compare to killing probably like what's way more than 40,000 people? We just don't know the true death toll yet.
Yeah.
Like, how
No.
is that the same? Unless you think Palestinians just like don't count as much
Yeah.
as Israelis.
Right. Which, well, obviously they don't think that. So